Hi, this is Ruthie J, the 5-star athlete, and welcome to the Shakkas Den.
What is up, everyone? You are tuned into Battleground Podcast, and of course, a very special edition. We are in the Shakkas Den, of course, the Salt Shakers, myself, Nikki Bougie. I'm not alone. When am I ever alone? Dreon Santana in the building, my tag team partner. Girl, what is going on, honey?
I mean, I feel great. You know what I'm saying? We have a special guest in the building. You know, it's the Shakers Den is invite only. You know what I'm saying? You have to be sent an invitation to be invited here. And I mean, we have nothing but lovely guests as always. Anyway, Miss Ruthie J. Girl, how are you?
Hello. Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Great, great, great. I mean, we're happy to have you.
Yes.
And everything we were talking a little bit earlier off air about like you being like in North Miami, you're an island girl, you was born in Haiti and everything like that. So like you came over to the States, I know like 4 years old and everything, but I mean, hey girl, we're happy to have you here over here in the
Yes.
States, so like
Absolutely. Before we get to know Ruthie J a little more, y'all know why we are here. We got a big event coming up this week for NWA. Ruthie J is actually going to be challenging for that Women's World Championship. Now, Kenzie Paige defeated Camille after an historic reign. In my opinion, one of the most historic reigns in women's wrestling and wrestling today in an NWA. Now, Kenzie was able to defeat Camille. I want to know how Ruthie J plans on mentally, physically, emotionally, plans on to defeat Kenzie Paige to become that world champion this weekend.
Honestly, I'm always ready, so I don't have to get ready. So with Kenzie, I know what she's about. She has Pretty Empowered in her corner, and she's also about doing whatever it takes. As you can see, that's how she won the title. So I know Kenzie Paige is, she's ready. So if I'm not ready, that means there's no chance for me. But on October 28th at Samhain, it's going to be a different story because me and Kenzie have gone one-on-one before. And I know what she's all about.
Yeah, so you're definitely no stranger to Miss Kenzie Page. I've seen her on multiple occasions inside the ring, and I know exactly how Pretty and Power get down. The numbers game is definitely something that you have to be prepared for. But let's take a step back. I mean, you became the number one contender for the NWA World Women's Championship by defeating Natalia Markova and Mr. Kate, who honestly are like two dominant women over in NWA, but talk about actually stepping into the ring with them and actually winning that match.
Stepping into the ring with them was really cool. I've never wrestled either of them one-on-one before. So having like a triple threat was like a cool way for all of us to, wrestle each other. I still want a one-on-one, of course, with each of them, but to have the triple threat, it was a fun match. It was a lot of women. It was intense. It was fast paced. It was technical. It was a mix of all three of our styles, and to win the match too was honestly like, wow, okay. That was literally my honest opinion when like I won. I was like, wow, I won. I did it.
That's awesome. I was actually in the building for that match. We also have some exclusive footage from that match on the Shakers Den, so make sure you check that out. I'm very curious to know what kind of a two-part here. Who's been the toughest opponent in NWA, and what would you say sets Ruthie J apart from the rest of her competition?
My toughest opponent that I've wrestled.
Yes.
To date, I would still have to say like Camille, because I wrestled her my very first match at NWA. So it was like sink or swim, like, to see if I was ready for the big leagues. So I would say that was probably my toughest competitor. Of course, she's the champion as well. So she's a great competitor. So that was my hardest like opponent to wrestle. Um, and going forward, what sets me apart from all of the rest of the roster would have to be my all around go getter attitude that makes me 5 stars, because I pride myself on being a 5-star athlete, but that goes beyond what I do in the ring. You have to be charismatic, you have to be able to speak, you have to be poised, you have to be educated. I feel like that goes beyond what you do in the ring, and people can tell if you're really who you are or if you're faking it.
That is absolutely true. And I mean, you pride on being the 5-star athlete. Now, you've been, part of NWA not that long and everything. You've wrestled, a couple of the women down there and everything like that. But who are some on the NWA roster that you have not faced, but have taken a liking to, one to step into the ring with?
Natalia Markova.
Mm.
She's crazy. Oh my God. She is crazy. I want to wrestle her in like some kind of hardcore match or something. Like I just, like two women killing each other. Like click that.
Yeah. She's absolutely amazing inside the ring, and I've seen her matches with Maxie and Paler. I think it was NWA 74, like the little casting match. I was there in person. I was like, oh my goodness. She is extremely tough. I swear,
very
she is.
tough woman. Yes,
she hits hard. I swear, but Ruthie J hits harder.
Now, being a 5-star athlete, do you have any inspirations outside of wrestling that really build your character and get you to that 5-star level?
Before I wrestled, I danced for 7 years, so that helped me a lot with what I do now, because it's like it's not choreographed, but it's like violent dancing. So with that being said, it helped me with like my footwork, being able to understand how to work with my opponent, because it takes two to tango, literally like dance. So outside of wrestling, I would want to go back to dance or do something with dance and incorporate that with like children, because I also was like a tutor before I started wrestling. So I like to teach like kids. Surprisingly, I'm like very good at math, so maybe I could do something with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I am terrible at math. Honestly, I would tell anyone math was not my favorite subject, but I do love money. So like now I can count that, but don't ask me the what Pythagorean theorem thing. Like don't ask me that no more. I didn't forget about all that geometry, all that stuff throughout high school and college. But speaking of dancing, you having that background, I mean, like you was the captain of a major red dance team. It's all through HBCU. So I mean, like for me, and Nikki can attest to this. Saying HBCU is very prevalent, especially major red dancing. And I mean, like that's honestly true. I'm not gonna lie. That's the reason why I go to the football games, because I love to see the girls get out there and do their stuff. You know what I'm saying? So how did you
That's why I became a
transition?
dancer in high school. I unfortunately did not go to HBCU. I went to FIU in Miami. But I did dance throughout middle school and high school. And in high school, we had a traditional band that emulated a HBCU. So I was able to dance like I was like, dancing like a college game. But it was like a high school game. But it was still the same concept. The dancers came out there and do what they had to do. They danced in the stands. They danced on the field show. And before we were traditional, we were a core band. So I also know how to do flag work, rifle work as well. I know how to work a rifle.
Well, girl, do your thing, because honestly, I've seen it before. I've seen the girls with the batons and the fire, and I'd be like, for me,
that's the one thing I didn't learn, a baton.
Listen, that is like some really, really good skills, especially with them having the fire on there too. That's some skills to take into. But how did you transition from, like, of course, with dancing, you have to have the stunts, the flexibility and everything. So how did you transition over into wrestling? And did it comes easy to you, especially implementing those stunts? Because I've seen you do the front flips, I've seen you do the death drops and all this and that, but including that flexibility, like, and having that dance background, like, how did you transition all of that into your wrestling career?
I mean, at first it was kind of difficult because all the physicality in wrestling is kind of different from dancing. Because with dancing, it's like you're fluid in everything you do. It's not like you're touching anybody or hitting anybody or like acting like you want to hit someone. So that was kind of difficult for me, because it was like, okay, everything I did looked too pretty. That's the biggest complaint that I got from my coach. It looked too pretty. You don't want to hurt them. The objective of pro wrestling is looking like you want to hurt them without actually hurting them. So that was one thing that actually like hindered me a little bit with the dancing, because it was too pretty. But once I understood like the concept of like how to make it look like I'm hurting them and still make it look good at the same time, like clean in the ring, then I was all set. It took some time, but I eventually got it.
I'm curious to know because you're going up against Kenzie Paige, who you said is willing to do whatever it takes to get and keep that title. With that being said, you go on, let's say you beat Kenzie. Is there anyone in the roster that you're willing to give that opportunity to first? Is there anyone you've been looking at? Is there anyone you want to get into the ring with?
Honestly, I said this in the last interview, and I'm gonna keep the same answer. Um, I would give my first championship opportunity to, if I win the title, Camille, only because she was champion for like 2 years and nobody was able to beat her for the title. And I want to know I could beat her if the roles were reversed. So that's who I would give my first opportunity like to if I were champion.
Camille, she's definitely a tough opponent. That's something that anyone who comes in as being champion after her has to like really sort of kind of fill in those shoes, because she's winning against some of the top girls over in NWA and everything, like so I've seen it, you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But of course, with NWA Samhain happening this weekend and everything, outside of course your match with Kenzie Paige and you actually defeating her and everything like that, you go on and celebrate. What other matches are you looking forward to seeing?
I'm looking forward to seeing the main event between EC3 and Tom Latimer, because I don't think I've seen them wrestle before live. So I honestly want to see that match, and Camille's gonna be in the corner too. So I want to see how that works out. So I'm really excited to see the main event of Samhain.
That's awesome. Now, as you gear up to travel, you're going from North Miami to Cleveland, Ohio. What's some things that you need to pack that you feel like you wouldn't have to pack if you were going back home?
Like 3 different jackets, 4 pants, some tights, 6 different boots. I wouldn't have none of that. Listen, all my clothes. Can I cuss here? All of my clothes are thought clothes. Okay, I barely wear clothes in Miami. It is so hot. So for me to go and I have to literally pack all this stuff, I probably need to not even pack a carry-on. I'll probably have to pack with what is it? With one of the ones I check in, because I have to pack all this stuff now.
Yeah.
Like, and my gear. So it's
Yeah.
like, and my gear is little as hell. I barely wear clothes when I go to the ring. So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Thinking about packing all that and then ended up winning the championship, and you have to pack the championship with you.
Oh my god! Listen, if I win the title, I ain't packing the title. I'm walking around with the title. What do you mean?
That's,
What in the world is gonna know I'm the
that's
champion?
true too. That's true too.
I'm sorry. I'm a character.
No, we love it here. We absolutely do and love it. Especially with your character being the 5-star athlete and everything like that. I think at one point you wanted to be the gold standard, but I think you can be all of that in one. I do know that you did have a big inspiration in regards to with your gear, in regards to like Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné now. Of course, the 2000 Divas era. I mean, if you know about the Divas era, their gear, their style was just like, it was very sex appeal like,
Yeah.
but it was meant for them and everything and stuff like that. So when you look at how your gear has evolved, you know, from the time you started up until now, how did you implement all of those inspirations into your gear and make it your own?
Well, honestly, I had to look at different people that I watched growing up to see like how they presented themselves. And like they wore certain things to make sure certain parts of their body was showing, certain logos were showing, or certain symbols were showing. I had to literally draw inspiration from all of the people that I watched to see how I would want my gear, how I want everything placed, what body parts I want to show. You know, it takes a lot to go out there half naked and wrestle for the people, bro. It takes a lot. People don't realize that.
No, not at all. Because I mean, the girls' gear are a very extravagant. I would like to say it's extremely cute, because like a lot of times you know who's a newbie by their gear versus now the new age girls is coming into wrestling. Like their gear is like
I
you
noticed that.
like
I literally
what?
noticed that. I did notice that because my gear, I was like, you knew I was a newbie. When I look back, I was like, oh, you knew I was a newbie. But now I see, I was like, okay, they understand now. You can't look like a newbie. You can't.
No,
You gotta
they
look
come
like you've
already
been there
star.
before.
Exactly.
That's true. I'm wondering, do you have any outside wrestling experiences? I know we talked about Sasha Banks and Mercedes Moné, but are there any musical talents or anyone in the entertainment that you see when they're on stage, or if they've worn something that gives you the inspirations for your gear?
For me, I would say there's two people, like Rihanna and Beyonce. Like for me, the presence of Beyonce comes out because right now I have the hair, like 2004 Beyonce, you know. So like I try to think, you know, I'm Beyonce when I go out there. And then for like the attitude and the coolness, I try to think Rihanna because she's so cool. Like people forget she's not the best singer because she's so cool.
That's true. I'm not saying she's not the best singer, but that is true though. Because with Rihanna, I mean, like I always say about Rihanna, she can put on a trash bag, and somebody's gonna buy it. Versus with Beyonce, I mean, listen. I'm part of the Beehive, so I don't even want to get me started.
Yo, that's a cult right there, bro. That is
it is. It is. And Beyonce she's that girl, you know, and everything. Yeah. But of course, with Halloween theme. We are in the season of Halloween and horror. So, like, if you could give us a little insight of what maybe your gear would look like, would it be a Halloween theme in a sense, or what? Give us like one word. Like, how would you describe it?
Wonder Woman.
There you have it.
Wonder Woman. Because you know, I always pop out with new gear. I'm mad you knew I was popping out with new gear. How did you know?
I mean, listen, come on. When you're going into getting a championship opportunity that you will probably win, I mean, you have to go all out. You know what I'm saying? Wonder Woman, she's the strongest one in the Marvel DC. You know what I'm saying? So like, you come on, you can't go wrong with Miss Wonder Woman at all whatsoever. So
that's true. Well, safe travels, Miss Ruthie J. We hope you make it safely to Cleveland and do what you need to do to defeat Kenzie Paige. Before we get out of here, let everyone know where they can find you on all social media platforms.
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Ruthie_all_smiles. You can find me on Twitter at Superior Queen with the W because I'm unique. You can find me on Facebook with Ruthie J. And I'm on Patreon at patreon.com/Ruthie_J.
Absolutely. If you are in the Cleveland area, make sure you check out NWA this weekend. And tickets are still limited, so make sure you go ahead and grab them. As far as us, you can catch us here at Battleground Podcast. The Shakkas Den is exclusive to the Battleground Podcast. And of course, the Salt Shakers are always dominating the tag team division on the media side of wrestling. You can always catch us on different shows, on different areas, and at different times. Make sure you check out all of our social medias. And until then, you've been tuned in to the Shakkas Den.